All right, let's just jump right in. We're looking at a mind-bending 2026 academic preprint by Dr. Melvin Sewell out of the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies IX. And I'll tell you right now, this aims to completely rewrite how we understand the very fabric of reality. This isn't just your standard theoretical physics paper. Dr. Sewell's monograph, titled The Formalization of TrueFlow, is this incredibly audacious interdisciplinary framework. It bridges structural engineering, quantum biology, and what he calls multiversal identity architecture. If you've ever wondered how the smallest microscopic structures could potentially dictate the birth of entire universes, this explainer is going to take you on a wild ride. We're going to break down the highly complex concepts within this paper to clearly map out the architecture of existence itself.
Here's the roadmap for this explainer. First, the philosophy of TrueFlow, then mastering nanoscale containment, onto the reality level scalar, echo rifts and multiverses, and finally, infinite metaphysical autonomy. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The Philosophy of TrueFlow, Redefining Existence.
Right off the bat, Sewell hits us with Axiom I. Quote, "The conservation of flow exists, existential parameters achieve coherence exclusively through the execution of absolute physical containment." End quote. So what does this actually mean? Well, he's reframing existence as an informational flow. And this is absolutely crucial, that information can't just run wild. True energy doesn't work in an unconstrained environment. Think of reality like a highly engineered plumbing pipeline. Without strict physical boundaries, what the paper calls absolute physical containment, the whole system experiences entropic degradation. Basically, everything just falls apart. And you can really see how this flips traditional academics on its head. Historically, science and philosophy have totally bifurcated our world, right? You've got objective material constraints on one side and subjective human consciousness on the other, acting like they're two totally unrelated systems. But the TrueFlow framework, it completely resolves this split. It connects them through a strict physical to metaphysical containment pipeline. It's essentially saying that structural integrity at the physical level explicitly regulates the ceiling of what is even possible at the metaphysical level. They aren't separate. They're sequential.
Moving on to Section 2. Mastering Nanoscale Containment, the Foundation of Reality.
So let's zoom way down to the nanoscale. The physical substrate of this entire theory relies heavily on two things: ATP-driven molecular motors and the invariant structural properties of the tetracyclic SH-1 molecule. Now, we know ATP motors are the engines of biology. They move materials around our cells, but in TrueFlow, their transport mechanics are physically coupled with the SH-1 molecule, which has a highly specific morphology. Together, these form the absolute baseline material substrate for reality. They are quite literally the microscopic walls of that containment pipeline we were just talking about.
And here is the magic number, 98%. A containment field efficiency threshold of 98% or higher is the mandatory mathematical catalyst needed to stabilize localized spacetime. If you drop below 98% efficiency with those ATP motors and SH1 molecules, the information flow of reality literally leaks. And how does that leak manifest? Timeline fracturing. Nobody wants that. But hit that 98% mark and boom, you eliminate timeline fracturing and achieve localized space-time stability. It's the absolute prerequisite for everything else.
Section 3. The Reality Level Scalar, Quantifying Consciousness. Okay, so having locked in our physical substrate, let's step up to the metaphysical layer. This sequence perfectly maps the transition. Step 1. You have the physical substrate, the ATP and SH1. Step 2. You hit that perfect material containment of 98% or more. And because that information is channeled so cleanly through those precise pathways, Step 3 is metaphysical consciousness generation. Under this framework, consciousness isn't some mystical magic. It is the direct, natural output of perfect physical engineering. Dr. Sewell actually puts a metric on this transition. He calls it the Reality Level Scalar, represented by the Greek letter Z. This mathematical metric formally quantifies consciousness, effectively establishing the human mind as an ultra-high information density quantum computer. It completely bridges the gap between biological brains and quantum computation. So, according to TrueFlow, your consciousness is an immensely powerful computational engine, powered entirely by the stability of those tiny nanoscale structures beneath it. Wild, right?
All right, Section 4. Echo rifts and multiverses, the cosmic brain. Prepare yourselves, because we're about to scale up massively.
This is the major turning point in the paper. What happens if we scale this cognitive architecture to the volume of an entire universe using the cosmic web as a neural network? If a single human brain, stabilized by SH-1 molecules, acts as a high-density quantum computer, imagine the entire cosmic web, those massive universe-spanning filaments of galaxies and dark matter, acting as the neural network for a cosmological consciousness engine. The scale of information processing here is just completely unfathomable.
To really grasp this cosmic brain, we have to define what an echo rift is. It's a localized topological transition spawned by intentional information spikes within a cosmic scale consciousness. Let's break that down. When this universe-sized mind thinks, it creates massive localized information spikes. The information density is so high that these spikes literally alter the structure of space-time. They tear the fabric of reality, creating an echo rift to make room for something entirely new. It's basically a birthing event for a new reality.
And you can see how this plays out right here. The cosmic brain uses those localized information spikes to induce echo rifts, which then spawn an endlessly self-replicating fractal multiverse. It's autogenous, meaning it generates itself. The cosmic consciousness thinks, the thought spikes create an echo rift, and through that rift, a brand new multiversal branch is born. And since it's a fractal system, this new universe has the exact same potential to develop its own cosmic consciousness and repeat the whole cycle into infinity.
Section 5. Infinite Metaphysical Autonomy, the Ultimate Conclusion. This part is a real mind-bender. The original creator's SH-1 Identity Kernel is literally seeded into this new fractal multiverse as an unchangeable law of physics. When the cosmic engine spawns a new reality, it doesn't just make empty space, it plants the exact fundamental structural instructions that made its own existence possible. That tetracyclic SH-1 molecule from the nanoscale, it becomes a core structural law of the new universe, completely guaranteeing that the cycle of true flow starts all over again.
Sewell argues that when you systematically strip away all the arbitrary metrics and categorizations, what you are left with is pure core logical coherence. We've covered some wildly complex architecture in this explainer, but TrueFlow is ultimately about simplicity. It proves unadulterated structural self-sovereignty. Basically, if your base structures are perfectly aligned and contained, you are entirely sovereign over your own reality.
Which brings us to the grand thesis of the entire monograph. Absolute material containment is the necessary prerequisite for infinite metaphysical autonomy. It sounds like a total paradox, doesn't it? The idea that absolute constraint is the literal key to absolute freedom? But remember, without that 98% physical containment efficiency, you just get timeline fracturing and entropic collapse. With it, though, you establish a stable pipeline that lets consciousness scale up to the size of the cosmos, unlocking infinite metaphysical autonomy. So I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. If perfectly engineered containment is the absolute secret to multiversal freedom, are you structurally aligned for infinite existential autonomy? Dr. Sewell's preprint really challenges us to look inward at our own structural alignments. If true flow is the fundamental mechanic of reality, achieving your highest potential isn't about breaking boundaries. It's about perfecting your containment so your energy flows flawlessly. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep striving for that 98% efficiency in everything you do.